Hi, everyone. We're going to start this webinar right now. For anyone coming in late or anyone who was unable to attend, who said who were registered, just know that we're going to be recording this and sending it out, sending it out after it's done. So I'm Mike from the Marks Group. I'm one of the CRM consultant and project managers for our CRM deployments, as well as a handful of trainings that I do. If you haven't met me before, some of you I've met and had meetings with. Some of you, this might be our first interaction. I work with our architects and our developers to completely tailor our systems for your specific business needs. And today we are going to talk about blueprints. So I'm gonna take my ugly mug off of the screen and point you to the slideshow and get going from here. So let's see here. My screen should be sharing. Just double check. Okay, so just kind of a brief overview of blueprints. What are Zoho Blueprints? They're pretty much a way to guide your sales team through a consistent process. So blueprints ensure standardized data capture and reduce errors. A lot of times when you go into a lead record or contact record, deal record, whatever it is, you can't it's hard to see what path is forward. Where do I go from here? A lot of it is just it's an open page of fields, and not a lot of people know what to do next. So blueprints eliminates the guessing game on what steps and data you need to collect from a lead or a deal to then move them down a pipeline. So what are blueprints? Think of it as a way to hard code your business process into your software. So there are prompts telling the salespeople what to do. You can also see the history of a blueprint process, so you're never out of the loop. It's not like you'll go into a record and you'll be like, where in the blueprint process is this? What stage are they at? What lead stage are they at? You can see all that from the history um, and the timeline of a lead. And it's a way to guide your users through some sort of sales or approval process. So similar to a flow chart, it helps your team reduce errors and duplication. So no steps are overlooked, no steps are skipped. On the flip side, there should be no redundant processes. So you're not going to be doing the same thing. It's this very streamlined and effective way to either close deals or move leads down the pipeline. So the benefits. So it's all about your business process and your SOPs. When you look at a blueprint, and I'm going to show you the back end of a blueprint, I think to understand the front end and the user experience, you need to take a look at the back end a little bit, but it's all about your business process and your SOP. So it looks pretty complex, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Blueprints are made for replicating and building a sales process inside the software. So we want to make sure it's as easy as possible for your sales reps. So think of it as a series of steps, like building a structure out within the software, so the salesperson knows exactly what to do. It will explain to the sales rep what exactly is going to happen and which bucket or which path you want the lead or deal to go down. It's really powerful because you're automating the tasks of remembering things. You don't have to remember what you put in the system or what templates to use. It's simply built out in the system on the back end. So the goal here is to appreciate how easy blueprints make it for a salesperson trying to create and close a deal. There are prompts every step of the way. So a prompt can automate an email, it can set task reminders, it can have the task reminder be sent to you, or it can have a prompt to, hey, fill out this task. It can prompt you to fill in the right fields at the right time. There's no need to find any obscure field on the record. And these are things that a blueprint can do, and it makes it way more straightforward and effective. And the biggest part is it lets your salespeople do what they do best, which is sell. So looking at the fundamentals, I mean, these are just kind of the basics of a blueprint. There are different stages. So the stages are like a lead status, whether you need to follow up, you need to contact them, you need to send this form out for them to fill. Those are called stages. And the way they move from one state or stage to another is through what's called transitions or buttons. Each will trigger some sort of reaction during and after. And I'm going to try to do my best to showcase these 3 types of blueprints. So there's process, approval, and validation in this walkthrough. So I created a use case that would hopefully showcase all 3 types and how blueprints can be effective. So this is just a sample flowchart. It's easy to make. It's really nice to automate some of these things. So we're going to walk through this a little bit in detail in a little bit more. But essentially, the rep decides if they want to move forward. No. Here are a couple decision trees. No. Did they answer? Yes, but let's follow up. Yes, let's mark them as interested. If they say yes, they're not interested, or they don't answer, you can put them on an automated email drip. You can send out a form to be filled out to then collect information to put them in a lead record and create automations from there. So just looking at this, let's take a look at what a sales process would look like without a blueprint. So I have a lead record here. I'm just going to create one. So let's just do Michael Scott. He left under Mifflin. And let's click save. So this is where a lot of salespeople are. There's a lot of pushback to using a CRM because now what do you do? It's just a blank canvas with a bunch of fields, and you have no idea what information to put in. So when you see a lot of salespeople push back of like, why is a CRM that beneficial? It's because they don't have any direction. There's nothing guiding them. So I have all this information. What do I do? Okay, I'm going to set a next call date. Let's just say I'm going to call him Saturday. Don't know why he's working Saturday, but we're going to call him Saturday. Okay, did he answer on Saturday? What should I do? Do I leave a note saying he didn't answer? I misspelled answer, but who cares? There's no clear way forward. Now do I send an email? Where's email? Oh, it's up in the top right here. Who do I send it to? I don't have an email in there. It wasn't mandated for me to put an email in. Even if I do have an email, what's the template? Which template do I choose? Is it one of these? I don't know which one to put in there. There's not a lot to go off of. And even if I do send it, what do I do? How do I follow up? Do I add a task to follow up? These are all things that you have to remember in your own head. And I'm just looking at these fields without any direction. Just what do I gather and what do I do next? How should I know what questions to ask and what fields to put in? So I'm going to go back to this slide with the flowchart. We're going to be flipping back and forth in between this. It's not as simple as blueprint transitions that automate the process. This was a fairly simple process, to be honest. Like, a lead comes in, did they answer, did they not answer? Are they interested? And there's maybe 3 or 4 different decision trees. But think of a manufacturing company where they're making deals with some wholesale purchasers that need to purchase multiple parts and send them to warehouses around the country. You're going to be collecting a lot of data, and you need your salespeople to know exactly when and what to collect. Now, I'm not saying you won't be successful without a blueprint, but I think it's important to see the difference in the power a blueprint has. So here's a sample flow, sample flow chart, just a lead sales process. Let's just say we're, a financial company and we're trying to categorize leads. We want to be able to obtain certain information that will direct us toward the financial package to push them to, I guess, if we're selling wills or certain family planning packages, et cetera. So I think drawing out the process is invaluable when you're creating a blueprint, or even just your sales process or business process. I think about using Lucidchart or Google Drawings or some other type of software that will allow you to visualize your sales process and flow. But as you can see there, I want the leads to end up in 3 different buckets. So qualified, let's do business. Not qualified, we've established some sort of relationship, but we don't want to move forward just yet. And up here, mark as a dead lead, no interest and no contact. Here we have a decision tree. Did they talk to the rep? There's different ways to move down this depending on the interaction. And it's a little complex to build a blueprint. and it's a little hard to keep all this straight in your head, even for a small amount of records. So Blueprints, this whole lead sales process is a way to categorize and organize all the records that are coming in, knowing which state they are in and the transitions. So there are actions and automations that occur between those states, and we can build those out according to your business process. So transitions help us to know exactly what to do and help not neglect anyone. So I know that's one of the whole, that's why people love CRM, is because nothing falls through the cracks, nothing gets neglected. Instead of it just being, we use this term a lot when trying to get people onto CRM or when they're not utilizing it. CRM doesn't just have to be an expensive Rolodex that you're paying thousands of dollars a year for. There are things that you can do to automate processes and reduce those mundane tasks that you do every day. So in terms of building out the blueprint, again, I'm going to show you some stuff on the back end, and it's not something that your users will see, but I think it's important for you to understand the why and how everything works. So again, we're going to be going back and forth between this is just a demo personal CRM account that I use. There's not real information in here for the most part, but for what I did for this, I just created a couple fields and a couple email templates. So here in this little section, there is 4 fields I created. There's an email drip status campaign where it has started and completed as options, a form field where yes and no are options, it's a simple pick list, and 2 date fields here. So a follow-up date and a next call date. They just have parentheses for webinar, just so I know after the webinar to remove them from my database. And then I created 3 email templates. It doesn't really matter for this webinar what's in the template, just that there are 3 associated with the leads so I can demo something. I can demo a drip campaign when it gets sent out. Just also, everything I'm showing you is also extremely useful for the deals module. So just as we're going to move a deal through the pipeline to either qualify, unqualify, or mark them as dead, you can do the same thing with deal processes. How do you move them through the deal pipeline? For example, they need certain documents sent in before they can go to discovery to negotiation stage of your deal, something like that. But I'm just going to show you how I think it works very useful for the leads module. So going into the blueprint, I'm just going to get out of here real quick. Yes, lead page. Nothing's turned on right now, but when you create a blueprint, I'm not going to create, like I already built this webinar sales funnel, but just to show you how it all works, you give it a name, you choose what module, you choose a layout, it's probably going to be standard for most of you guys, and you choose a field. And the field needs to be a pick list. So I chose lead status. That's what I want to base this off of. The options in your pick list become your states, and the actions between them that connect the states are called transitions. So usually blueprints take people from one state to another state. So status fields, stage fields, and you want to guide them from one record or from one stage to another. So you want to guide them from non-responsive stage in your lead status to follow up later or whatever it is. But we did lead status for this one, and you can set criteria here to define and establish that they must have certain things to enter the blueprint. So they must have an X call date to enter the blueprint, and we'll explain that in a bit. And you can give a description. So let's take a look at inside the blueprint that I've created for this. Everything in Blueprints drag and drop, so you can move these around if you want to visually appease your eye, and you can drag other type of states in here. It's fairly simple to build it out, but it's similar to building a flowchart. So let's go back again. I know I'm going back and forth to this flowchart, but typically you come in as a lead with the state of none. And then we have 3 options. You can either be interested, you can follow up, or non-responsive. So sorry, I'm flip-flopping back and forth here, but that's what we started out with: interested, follow up, non-responsive. So you can connect them all different types of ways. After interested, what's the next stage a person can do? They can fill out some sort of discovery form to then give you pertinent information to start a deal with them. So you can either go to qualified or unqualified. I'll explain this a little bit later, but here's a follow-up loop, meaning that you can follow up with them as many times until they exit that part of the transition to then mark as dead. But you can follow up and you can follow up later. And then after non-responsive, after a certain amount of times, after a drip campaign goes out, you can mark them as dead. So those are the states. These white boxes here are lead status or lead stages in my CRM. So in this field here, this is where they're coming from. This is where they're getting populated from. So next, we're going to name and go through the transitions. Now that we have a general outline of the blueprint, so what you would do is you'd put these white boxes in first, and we would do this for you, but now you're going to name the transitions. The transitions are the blue buttons that occur between states. The names you assign the transition, so no answer, mark as dead, these are all transitions. These appear on the blueprint transitions on the front end in a record. For example, when a record has a status of interested, it can move through the transitions to not qualified and qualified through these transition buttons. On the front end, we can see that a record owner of the interested lead can either create a deal or just create a contract. So now we're going to build out the transitions. So there are three main parts to a transition. So I'm just going to go into this transition here. There is here we go. There is a before, during, and after part of the transition. Before you can use a follow-up transition, you can set the criteria to see if that transition can be used. The during is probably the most important part. Here's where you can add different items during the transition. So you can leave a message for the user to say, you must select the date in the future. You can require certain fields with optional validation rules, which is what I did. You can also leave the user a note to say you must fill out this note section, you must put these attachments in, you must add these tags, provide options to create related records such as tasks. So you can you can make sure that during this section of the blueprint, you can make sure a field has to be filled out, a tag, a message, a task. Let's see the associate them, a task, a note, a meeting, all that stuff has to be input before you can move through it. Then after, you can schedule or you can trigger automation. So for this one, I have a task. So after they go through this part of the blueprint, a task gets sent to them. Make sure you follow up with the lead on the day that you've set the follow-up date. But you can also do custom functions, field updates, certain webhooks, things like that, workflow rules. For this one, I just added a task. It lets the user know to follow up with the lead on that follow-up date. And then always leave a user message in the during section, so in this section. So you can see in this one, selecting a date to follow up with this person. But let's just go through a couple other during notes. Clicking save after you've clicked this button on the front end will send this person an email with a link to the lead discovery form. Remember, you want them to fill out a form to then send to your CRM so it can update their record, as well as move them down the pipeline and create a deal. But leave any relevant notes about your conversation with this person. I'll just do one more. Marking as a dead lead, the during, there's going to be a note once you click this button. Clicking save will mark this person as a dead lead and remove them from the sales funnel. So ensuring that there's a message there that your reader can read, even if you don't require input from the end user, it's always nice to leave a message, leave something for them to read quickly. They can either move forward with that transition, or if they made a mistake, click cancel and avoid that error. It can't be undone and there's no going back. That's one of the downfalls of a blueprint. But let's just take a look at no answer transition here and why we require fields in the blueprint. So in the during section here, the record must have an email before sending out automated emails, right? So if there's no email in the record, how is it going to know the where to send the drip campaign? So I required this down here on the right side. The email field must be completed or must be filled out for this transition to occur. You can also gather or you can also require address information for shipping purposes or gathering preliminary deal info that can be used in automatic deal creations. The blueprint provides a systematic and uniform method for ensuring that every lead in contact has all the right info at every stage or status. So the user no longer has to remember every detail or question they need to ask clients. The blueprint will prompt them. So this button will first come up, and then you'll have a message saying what this transition will do. So by adding email in this transition, you cannot complete it until this field email here is filled out. I'm also going to show you just a little bit after. You can also have a field update. So after they just click a button on the front end, the email drip status field here, right here on the bottom of this pick list, will automatically be updated to started. That way you know that once you click this transition, they're in the drip campaign. So let's say you go back to that record a couple of days later, you can see that, okay, they're in the drip campaign. Let's wait to see if they respond. I don't need to send them any redundant follow-ups. For the sake of this video, I'm going to do some of these things manually. So for example, create a contact here. Before you can create a contact, this form field must be yes. For the sake of this video, I'm going to manually do that. But you can have this triggered to where once you send that form out to the prospect or lead and they send it back in, that field automatically gets updated. You don't have to select yes, it automatically gets updated, which will then trigger automations. So let's move. So we've actually pretty much finished the build out of a blueprint. We've talked about the states. So these are states in the lead status: non-responsive, follow-up, interested, not qualified, qualified, follow-up later, and dead. And these are the transitions. How do you get from one state to another? And now we can create our automated workflows. This will have the automated email drip campaign, the reminders sent out to the leads to fill out the form. You cannot do scheduled reminders or actions within Blueprints, but you can include it in the workflow rules, which then can be associated with this blueprint. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go into a little workflow and just walk through what we did there. But let's just slow down and take a look here at this flow chart again. Again, like I said, we're going to be flipping back and forth. Are we going to have leads reach one of these buckets? Convert to a contact and deal, qualified? Are we going to unqualify them? Or are we going to mark them as dead? Do we have tasks to follow up with the interested leads? Yes, you'll see that in a second. We can take a step back so you don't forget these intermediary steps here. Do I have my states? Yes. Do I have my transitions? Is this going to accomplish what I want? And for different businesses, this process is going to be fairly different, but it's super customizable to your process. So remember that each step along the way to build it out, we will be there helping you decide where's my decision trees, how do I get from this state to the next. So workflow rules. Again, I know this might be a little boring, but I think it's important to show you how we trigger things. So this workflow rule is going to be triggered when a lead status is modified to any value. Again, lead status is a field in my lead. The first automation we're going to put in place is the email drip campaign. So when the lead status is non-responsive, we're going to have an email drip campaign go out. So the email drip 1, 2, and 3. So email goes out immediately. 7 days after, if they don't respond, this second one goes out. 14 days after the trigger date, if they have not responded, the third one goes out. Also, just note here, on the third email drip campaign, after the third one goes out, the field will automatically update to completed. So there's an automation marking it as started in the blueprint. After this drip campaign goes out, these scheduled actions, remember you can't do scheduled actions in Blueprints, it will send a notification to update this field as completed. Note also that if anyone changes the status halfway through the email drip, like let's say they responded, they will be taken off of the drip campaign. They will no longer fulfill the conditions for the rule, and the schedule automations here will no longer apply. More or less, if they respond, no more email drips will go out. And then let's just go down here to this fourth condition. I added it fourth. I probably should add it second, but if the lead status is interested and the form isn't yes, meaning they haven't filled out a form yet, an automation will be sent out to them with the lead discovery form. Again, we're trying to collect information from this lead to have them fill it out. So if they're interested, we're sending them this form to fill out information on what type of business they want, what type of deal they want to make. So that it automatically gets sent out through there. We have another condition saying that the field has to be, it cannot be yes. So nobody should have filled this out if they haven't received it yet. This allows the follow-up email only to go out to people who haven't filled out this form on the first email. And then we have a scheduled action 7 days later. If they do not fill out a form, just send another one to remind them. So we can take a look to see what automations we have left. So let's just go back here, create a contact and convert them. So these are the two automations we have left. If the lead status here is qualified, so qualified meaning they want to do business, we're going to convert it to a contact account and deal. If the lead status is not qualified, we're only going to convert them to a contact and account. No deal yet. So I like to fit as many transitions or as many automations into one workflow. So your workflow rules, like the page, I'll just cancel this. This workflow rules doesn't get too cluttered. So I like to put all the automations in there. Nothing really important to you, but I'm going to go back to this blueprint here and talk about one more thing before we see this on the front end. So you see how no answer here, if I hover over it, there are, other arrows going back to it. It has other transitions that can lead to this non-responsive state. Mark as dead if I hover over it, conversely, does not have it. So a common transition is one that can be used from multiple states. So this one, you can only use it from ones attached to it. This one, you can have it from multiple states. This is useful if you want to set a follow-up date or mark someone as interested from other states, not just the one at the beginning, meaning none. So if no one answers, let's say I go to no answer here, you can only mark someone as non-responsive. We only want that to be an option from the follow-up state. So one of the other things too here is I want to be able to mark someone as interested from every state. Let's say I put them in the follow-up loop. I don't want the only next state possible to be follow-up later. Let's say they respond to that follow-up and they want to do business. I can mark them interested from that state. It's not just the ones attached to it. And this follow-up loop, you see how it loops back. It makes it possible for additional follow-ups. So that's what a common transition is. If I click this one's common transition. You can select which states can go back to it. This one does not have common transitions. I just wanted to explain that a little bit. Again, a lot of me showing you this is going to be it's going to help you understand what it looks like on the front end. Now, the demonstration of this is going to be fairly short because the whole purpose of this is to make it easier for your salespeople. We spent a lot of time talking about the back end, again, more just to help you understand. And when I show you the front end of it, you're going to be like, that was a lot of work for nothing, but it helps automate a lot of things. So let's just create a new lead here. I'm going to walk you through a couple different use cases for this blueprint. Remember, you can mark them as dead, you can convert them. There's different paths they can go down, but let's just create one here. The MBA started up, so I'm just going to do Michael Jordan. For whatever reason, he bought the Chicago Bulls. And I'm actually going to put my email in here just so something can get sent out if there's a drip campaign. So we're going to save. And let me actually turn this blueprint on before I do this. But quickly, just for the records that were made before the blueprint has been enabled, all you need to do is edit any field in the record to fulfill the criteria. So I just enabled it. No records in the blueprint yet until I edit any field in there. But let's put a next call date here. So, he wants to, hang out on the weekend. I just want to do work. I'm going to set it for Tuesday. And you can see the transitions, and he has now entered the blueprint. So the blueprint is now entered. So let's walk through it. So these are the answers that appear. We have follow up, Mark is interested, and no answer. Let's say we tried calling him, but he didn't answer. So we're going to set a follow-up date because it told me to. Remember, we're also walking through this in a matter of minutes, not days. So, some of these dates might seem a little obscure to you. But let's say he didn't answer. We're going to set a follow-up date for the 7th. Again, select a follow-up date with this person. These are all messages I put on the back end, so it tells the user what to do. I'm going to click save. Let's say he didn't answer, he didn't pick up the phone or whatever it was. I'm going to say no answer. So again, after every transition, additional transitions will pop up. I'm going to say no answer, and you can see the lead status also automatically changes within this as well. But I'm going to go no answer. I'm going to read the description. Clicking save will initiate a series of 3 automatic scheduled emails sent from my email. If the customer replies and we can talk to them, you may end this email drip campaign. So I'm going to click save here. So what does this do? I'm going to show you on the timeline here. Email drip status has been changed from to started. I'll show you that. But it also tells you this email was sent, the email drip campaign was sent to them via this workflow rule. So it's great our workflow rules are working, but it also tells you, okay, they're in this drip campaign on the back end, and this field automatically changed to started. So now you know if you take a quick glance, okay, this person's in there. And these are also tasks that I've associated with it. Follow up with Michael Jordan on November 7th. So all that was automated through a click of one button. Let's say nothing happens. You can mark the lead as dead. And remember, you can mark them from interested from any state. I think that's important to see as well. But let's just mark it as dead. So you see this message here. Clicking save will mark this person as a dead lead and will remove them from the sales funnel. So it's making sure that the user didn't click it by accident and regret it. I'm going to read it. I'm going to confirm it. And this lead is now marked as dead here, right there. Again, it was very short for how long I took on the back end to explain some things, but I think it's important for you to see both sides of it. So let's take a quick, again, let's take a quick look at this flow chart. I didn't automate everything, and I did require some input from a user. But I created a system to which every user knows what step. They know what data to input, and they know where every record is. And it helps us not neglect or forget any lead. So I automated things that would otherwise be tough to remember in your head. I had a task creation to remind salespeople to follow up. I automated an email drip, and we gave the lead on the other end multiple opportunities to talk with us. So I called him twice, and then I clicked no answer, and then I sent 3 emails to him. So I gave him multiple opportunities to reach an agreement, and then we can have automations based on other ways you can put them down decision trees. So again, going back here, I'm going to create a new lead, and we're going to walk through the other side of the blueprint. So what does it look like when you're trying to convert something or push someone to qualified or unqualified, I should say. Oh crap, today's Halloween. So I'm going to do Michael Jackson, and he owns Thriller Industries. I'm going to put another email that I have. This is my fantasy email. So if anyone wants to do fantasy, hit me up at Yahoo. I think that's all I need for right now. Okay, same type of thing. We're gonna do a next call date. I'm gonna do a next call date, and we are going to do, let's just do the 8th for now. Again, these options appear. I'm gonna click no answer as they are busy, and I'm going to confirm that these emails are going to go out. Again, these prompt you every step of the way what's going to happen, so your users can validate what they're doing. I'm going to click save. You can check the timeline again, that the email was sent out. The email drip status was automatically changed to started, so you know where it is. But let's say Michael, checks his email and takes a break from whatever he's doing and says he's interested in our business. So you can see up here, I can mark him as dead or mark him as interested. I'm going to click mark him as interested. With this, it prompts them that they're going to send that lead discovery form. Remember, we're trying to gather information from them to decide which package we're going to send them. And then it requires them a note. So you've obviously talked to this person, and the system's mandating you put notes from your conversation. So Michael reached back out and said he has taken a break from moonwalking and has time to work with us. Jesus, that was a really bad joke, but I'm going to click save. He will now receive an email with a link um, to the discovery form. So an email has been sent. You can see now there are no new actions available. That's because he hasn't filled out his form. Remember, the next blueprint transitions only happen if the form has been filled out. Remember, you can automate this when they send it in. Once they hit submit on that form, it can automatically update this field. Again, it will change the fields in the CRM to be updated. So let's say on that lead discovery form, it has some of these questions. What's your annual revenue? What type of product are you interested in? Are you interested in a will? All those fields will be updated once he submits that form. You don't have to have any dual entry. And the form field in the record will be updated to yes. So I'm going to do that right now manually. I didn't set up a form or anything, but just know that this can also be automated. So you can either refresh the page. I think it actually automatically does it. So what you would do is you would see these new transitions here. From here, you can either create a deal or create a contact. But what you would do is you'd go over the form, review it. Let's say he's interested. I would click create a deal. I'm going to go over this message again. This will create a contact and a deal record. So it validates what you're doing and makes sure that your user knows what step he's going to. You can always click cancel. Let's say you misclicked create a record or create a deal. You can always click cancel. But I'm going to go ahead and create a deal. So I'm going to click save. And just know that it created an account, contact, and a deal. Okay, so my blueprint worked. My automations worked. That's great. So I'm just going to go back here and finish up. But just know that that was one way to use a blueprint. There are many different ways. Other use cases involve deal management, which can guide your people through stages of the deal, making sure certain conditions are met when closing a deal, like fixing a max discount or some sort of negotiation period. Or let's say you're a construction company, you might require, dare I say, blueprints to move them down to a certain stage in your deal. Certain documents might have to be uploaded before you can send a quote. All this can be validated with the blueprint. Training, blueprints can make it easy to train users by providing them directions with options to choose from each stage or status. So I know we just walked through a whole entire process of how to create a blueprint for the leads module, but you can apply this to any module. I like to say deals are probably where we see a lot of people asking, hey, how do I automate these processes? How do I get these going? That's when we offer, what blueprints can or can't do. And I know I showed a lot on the back end today, but it was just so you can understand, where I was coming from. So to recap what we did, we guided an internal user, how to walk through a sales process. I didn't have to think of what to do. I was prompted with just a few clicks of buttons, and I marked it as a dead lead for one of the blueprint walkthroughs that we did. And another, I qualified it and created a deal from it, all with the click of a few buttons. I didn't have to try to find out how to convert. I didn't have to figure out what the next step was. Everything was kind of there for me, written out right in front of me. And I wanted to show you, both sides of it, just so you understand how much control as a sales manager, as a business owner, you have when you design this. So you can make sure that you have full control over how your salespeople move prospects down the pipeline, and make sure the automations and workflows reduce the man hours spent on the mundane tasks. Again, same thing with deals. You can, before a quote is sent out, you can make sure that they're hitting specific checklists. Okay, this was done. We got this information from the client. We've got this deposit down, and we have their documents to make sure that they're getting the right product or service that they're asking for. And your salespeople, they shouldn't have any questions or concerns on next steps with the lead. So everything is in there right in front of them, and it helps them focus on selling. Which field do I update? Which step are they in? Oh, I have to manually put this stuff in. I have to type the same email over and over. Where are the templates at? have to remind to send this follow-up email. No, all these tasks are automated to remind you to send that follow-up email. The drip campaigns are there, so you don't even have to send certain emails. Just know that, you know, once they enter this stage, these emails are going out to them. Great, you don't have to worry about it. If someone responds, they get taken off that part of the blueprint. Everything's in the blueprint, and it's a great way, again, to get buy-in from salespeople, because it should show them how easy it is to manage large quantities of leads. Let's say you have 100 leads per salesperson. You're not gonna, you know, go through every lead individually. Okay, where are they at? I need to send this email out. I need to gather this information. No, the blueprint should automate a lot of that stuff. So you can filter out things. Okay, I only want to see people in this stage of my blueprint. You know, today's, you know, the end of the month, I want to close deals, so I want to see people who are interested. So you can filter out that, you can filter out by that, making sure you're only touching on the certain leads you want to touch on. So it's a great way for your salespeople to not have to divide their focus among many parts of the lead process. It's a way for them to just focus on selling the product or service that you're doing. So again, remember, CRM is a tool, not a weapon. And I feel like that should be my slogan, because I say it so often if you've ever been in meetings with me. But CRM should help you. It shouldn't make things more difficult. Like we always say with Zoho specifically, but any CRM, you know, the CRM should bend to you. It should bend to your business process, not the other way around. You shouldn't have to recreate, excuse me, your business process, your SOPs to fit Zoho or Salesforce or Dynamics. The CRM should help you and not question, okay, what's the next step? What do I do? Like, why can't I just pick up a phone and call someone? It should be a tool that you leverage to close more deals. And there are many ways to use blueprints, and hopefully what I showed you today just illustrates just a small amount of the power it has and how it can guide your users through some sort of sales process to ensure consistency with closing deals and moving leads through the pipeline to convert them to contacts and account, and how efficient that was. I think within the blueprint I sent 5 emails, I think 3 drip campaigns, and then an email to send out for the lead discovery form, and then one as a follow-up to the lead discovery form. That was all with the click of a button. I didn't have to type anything out. I didn't even have to choose which template to do. That was all set on the back end on the workflow rule or the blueprint. So that's my little walkthrough of blueprints. And remember, I just kind of scratched the surface of a process. Most of our clients have way more complex SOPs or business processes, and blueprints assist their team. So there's no, you know, analysis paralysis of which field I have to update, which stage is this follow up or follow up later, like what stage is this lead in? No, it's a foolproof way to execute your business process. So again, for anyone who didn't make it, who was registered, or people who had to pop off early or popped on late, we will be resending this. We will be sending this recording out after the webinar, so you'll have a copy. And you know just as well as I do, Gene is going to be reaching out to all of you in the coming weeks. But for whatever reason, in the meantime, please feel free to reach out to him or me directly for any assistance on your Zoho. Again, thank you for showing up, and we will announce our next Zoho or just webinar, but it might be Zoho based as well in the coming weeks. There are a few topics that we're getting in from current clients to where there seems to be abundance of need for certain features in Zoho that we're probably going to harp on. But we will send out the next topic in the next coming weeks, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.